Have you realized that technological progress increases the gap between the world we live in and the world our brains are adapted to? The world our brains are adapted to is the world that shaped the brains of our ancestors over millions of years. We humans are cave dwellers with internet. Our brains have not changed much since our ancestors left the caves. But technology has greatly changed the world, and the change is accelerating. Technological progress brings about complex challenges to humanity. Consider the impact of social media. Without social media, could Trump have become president? Could international terrorism have grown? I will shock you, claiming that humankind's existential problems are more challenging than you are aware of. Technological progress has brought about grand challenges that existing approaches cannot solve. Still, I finish this talk with cautious optimism. An emerging technology could help, but this technology needs your help to get known and be widely used. Isn't that the purpose of TED Talks? To understand important ideas and help spread them? Here comes the shock. Technological progress has created a grand challenge that for a long time has resisted all solutions attempts. This grand challenge contributes to global warming and to destruction of nature. But global warming and destruction of nature are even greater challenges. Even greater. Can you guess how long this unsolved grand challenge has existed? 50 years? Longer? Guess a number. A thought experiment will convince you that the existing approaches cannot solve grand challenges. A thought experiment is a hypothetical situation where an issue is laid out to think through its consequences. Let us think through the consequences of bringing to life again a great mind from antiquity, Pliny the Elder. Can you guess why I need Pliny, who died 2,000 years ago? One reason is that Pliny, after experiencing the marvels of modern technology, will ask a question that should have occurred to you and to you and to you all. But still, few people have asked this question, and even fewer are aware of its relevance. As to the second reason, you got some clues a little time ago. Pliny was a naval admiral of the early Roman Empire. His passion was science, and he died because of his scientific curiosity. He ventured too close to the erupting Vesuvius and was asphyxiated by volcanic ash. Pliny's motto was, "To be alive is to be awake." He wrote about natural phenomena, working long hours, and sleeping as little as possible. His natural history, consisting of 37 books, became a model for encyclopedias. In my thought experiment, outstanding communicators meet Pliny in Rome. They demonstrate modern technologies explaining their principles, that is, their causes and effects. A known cause provides the means to some end. For example, knowing that the immune system reacts to infection with antibodies suggests vaccines. After the demonstration, a helicopter takes Pliny from Rome to the place where he died during the eruption of Vesuvius. From the skies, Pliny sees traffic congestion. Arthur Clarke's third law says, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. For Pliny, the modern world is magic. He cannot believe his eyes. Is the traffic congestion problem still not solved after 2,000 years of magical technological progress? Why is it so much more difficult to solve traffic congestion than to send people to the moon or predict the climate 50 years ahead? Traffic congestion has been a chronic nuisance since Roman times. Nowadays, any major city in the world suffers from traffic congestion, and the congestion's economic cost in terms of pollution and waste of time and fuel is about 2% of any country's gross national product. Just to give you an idea as to that, the gross national product of the United States, 2% of that, is comparable to the pension fund for Norway that is wasted every year. That's bad. And other countries, of course, also. That's bad, but it is worse because traffic congestion increases global warming and destruction of nature. Could you explain why it is so much more difficult to solve the traffic congestion problem than inventing the technological marvels that surround us? Nobody raises their hand. Few people can explain it, and that's tragic. We have created a globalized world where lots of things are connected with each other. They are interdependent. The interdependencies create the systemic complexity that characterizes grand challenges. Grand challenges behave counterintuitively for our cave-dweller minds. Education about systemic complexity, systems thinking, is largely absent from school. Most people in our systemic world are systemic illiterates. Lacking systemic literacy, grand challenges surpass humankind's solution attempts. Systemic complexity is embedded in grand challenges like complex projects, which often take too long to complete and greatly exceed the budget, in pandemics, in traffic congestion, in global warming, in destruction in nature, and in creating a sustainable world. Systemic complexity delays the consequences of our interventions. Many unintended consequences show up years or decades after the interventions. The unintended consequences of our interventions become friendly fire, attacking and frustrating our attempts to solve the grand challenges. Because of their systemic complexity, grand challenges are resistant to non-systemic interventions. For traffic congestion, Parkinson's automotive law applies. Traffic expands to fill available road capacity. Attempts to solve the traffic congestion by building more roads create more traffic and, over time, more traffic congestion, which makes more problems worse, like expansion of cities, global warming, and destruction of nature. Why is it easier to create computers or space stations than to master the systemic complexity of grand challenges? Because technological marvels can be created in a divide and conquer manner. That is what division of labor means. Specialists, experts in a bit of the required knowledge, perform a small part of the whole, the part they can best. Our total knowledge exists in pieces. It is fragmented. Divide and conquer cannot solve grand challenges. Remember, in grand challenges, there are many factors and many interdependencies transmitting consequences across many disciplines. It does not work dividing the challenge for specialists, experts who only own a fragment of knowledge. Rather, the opposite of dividing is required. The pieces of knowledge owned by the expert or the specialist must be put together. Knowledge must be defragmented, Experts in different disciplines must collaborate to put together networks of causes and effects. Remember, to solve a problem, you must know the causes, the means. Many technologies help experts collaborate across disciplines, but I know only one technology, a unique software platform called Strategy Finder, which organizes the collaboration as networks of causes and effects, and which helps analyze the results and devise strategies. I am not the inventor of the methods of this technology, nor do I have economic interest in Strategy Finder. The inventors of the methods are Frank Ackerman and Colin Eden. Despite the huge credibility of the authors with more than 20,000 scientific citations, their methods have not been largely adopted in practice, but they have proven their worth. Their methods have been applied to systemic complex problems, such as litigation, to prove the cause of mismanaged projects. They have been used by a very big engineering enterprise, Bombardier, to improve management of complex projects. The methods and the strategy finder technology are currently used in the innovation project Systemic Pandemic Risk Management, which I lead with Colin Eden as principal investigator. It will take too long and be too complex to explain the technology, so I just concentrate on some method of the technology, the one that allows to select the best strategies for manage complex problems. And I will use pandemics as an example. With a Strategy Finder, an interdisciplinary team of experts collaborate across the internet to create networks of causes and effects. Before showing you a simplified version where you can see the details, I briefly show you a small part of a real model of a pandemic risks. Even if this is only a small part of the total model, you guess there are a lot of factors and there are a lot of causes and effects shown by the arrows. Please listen to my explanation of the causes and effects in red color in the simplified version that you see now. Infodemic means too much and confusing information in social media. Infodemic causes loss of trust in authority, which causes that many people ignore government advice, which causes that fewer people get vaccinated. Very important, the troublemaker are processes known as vicious cycles because they escalate the risks. I will explain one vicious cycle, the one in red color. Distrust in vaccination causes low proportion of people vaccinated effectively, which causes increase of infection rates, which increases the number of virus variants, which makes vaccines less effective, which creates even more distrust in vaccination, and we are again and again going on and escalating the risk. It will take too long to explain all the vicious cycles. There are many vicious cycles here. What was interesting is that some of the risks here participate in very many vicious cycles, in very many of them. Why is this interesting? Because it provides us with the best strategies. If you devise strategies attacking the risks where there are most of these troublemakers, the vicious cycles that escalate the risk, then you are like killing many birds with one stone. Real complex systemic problems have millions of vicious cycles. With Strategy Finder, you can detect them all, and you can find out which risks are in the most vicious cycles, the risks that are most important to mitigate. The Strategy Finder technology is a promising first step to manage systemic complex problems in a systemic way. Other methods and other technologies like system dynamics can then build upon and take us further. There is still a long way to devise effective solutions to humankind's grand challenges. You can help making this way shorter. The key insight is that humankind quickly must learn to manage the systemic complexity of grand challenges in a systemic way. Help spreading these insights. Thank you. Okay.